the concept of decentralization and how it applies to cryptocurrency. Decentralization in the context of blockchain describes the transfer of power and decision-making from a centralized entity, an individual, an organization, or a collection of such entities, to a dispersed network. Decentralized networks aim to limit the amount of trust that participants must place in one another and to prevent them from interfering with one another in ways that would impair the network's performance. The importance of decentralization. The idea of decentralization is not new. Three main network designs are often taken into account when developing a technological solution: centralized, distributed, and decentralized. Although decentralized networks are frequently used in blockchain technology, a blockchain application itself cannot be categorized as either decentralized or not. Instead, decentralization should be applied to all facets of a blockchain program and is a sliding scale. Greater and more equitable service can be accomplished by decentralizing an application's resource management and access. Decentralization frequently has certain drawbacks, such as decreased transaction throughput, but in an ideal world, these drawbacks are justified by the gains in stability and service levels they bring about. The advantages of decentralization. Creates an atmosphere of distrust. None of the participants in a decentralized blockchain network need to know or trust one another. A distributed ledger that contains identical data is shared by every member of the network. The majority of the network's members will reject any member whose ledger has been altered or corrupted in any way. Makes data reconciliation better. Data exchange between businesses and their partners is common. Each party's data silos normally transform and store this data, which is then only brought to light when it has to be transferred further down the pipeline. Every time the data is transformed, there is a chance that some of the data will be lost or that some inaccurate data will enter the work stream. Every entity gets access to a real-time, shared view of the data thanks to a decentralized data store. Reduces vulnerable areas. When a system relies too much on a few key people, decentralization might lessen its weak spots. These vulnerabilities could result in systemic failures, such as the inability to deliver on promises or inefficient service as a result of resource exhaustion, recurrent outages, bottlenecks, a lack of enough incentives for effective service, or corruption. Optimizes the allocation of resources. Decentralization can also aid in resource allocation optimization, improving the performance and consistency of promised services while lowering the risk of catastrophic failure. Comparison of decentralization. Where it makes sense, decentralization should be implemented. A blockchain application doesn't need to be completely decentralized. Any blockchain solution's objective is to meet the needs of its customers, which may or may not involve a certain degree of decentralization. To better comprehend decentralized networks, the table below breaks down how decentralized networks compare to the more typical centralized and distributed networks. Every network architecture has advantages and disadvantages. For example, decentralized blockchain systems, unlike distributed systems, often prioritize security over performance. Therefore, as a blockchain network grows or expands, it becomes more secure, but performance suffers since each member node must verify each piece of data that is added to the ledger. A decentralized network can become safer but not always faster by adding members. Who is designing blockchain apps exploiting decentralization? Different degrees of decentralization is adopted by every blockchain protocol. A decentralized application, DApp, decentralized autonomous organization, DAO, and any blockchain-related solution. The maturity of the solution, the time-tested dependability of its incentive models and consensus procedures, and the founding team's ability to strike the proper balance are often the determinants of adoption level. For example, many DAOs have various components at different stages of decentralization. Oracles, I.E. Third-party services that provide smart contracts with external information may be partly decentralized. Smart contracts might be fully centralized, while the governance process for adjusting parameters is community-driven and decentralized. Decentralized blockchain solutions are being researched and utilized on a larger scale by businesses of all shapes, sizes, and sectors. Applications that deliver quick international aid or emergency aid to those in need without the involvement of a bank, government, or other third party are a few notable examples. Or software that enables users to control their own digital identities and data. Today, social media platforms, businesses, and other entities sell this information without providing any value to the individual. A decentralized approach would help make it equal for all. A real-world example. Contura Energy, a major coal supplier with headquarters in the United States, has relied on an antiquated letter of the credit system to handle its international trade payments. Buyers are guaranteed payment through these letters of credit, which are issued by an intermediary bank on behalf of its client. Although this device is reliable, it is also manually operated, slow, and incredibly ineffective. Contura Energy is aware of the value and significance of automating and digitizing its letters of credit procedure. However, establishing confidence and verification between merchants and purchasers is a problem they must overcome. On a decentralized, blockchain-based invention that offers a more effective, cost-effective, and low-risk approach to managing international trade payments, they are collaborating with AWS. By providing all participants with real-time access to the data and documents, this decentralized system also improves transparency. Decentralization's power. The following are a few of the greatest benefits of decentralizing your financial system. Independent decision-making and control. You can continue to exercise independent control and decision-making thanks to decentralization. Your system's destiny and direction are not reliant on the honesty of any one authority. The entire organization runs the risk of disintegrating if any one authority is ever undermined, damaged, or corrupted. However, a system that is free from any corrupt power can continue to provide stronger security and independence. Unreliable connections. Cryptocurrency is based on a network of connections that lacks mutual trust. To know that a device has accurately verified a transaction, you don't need to trust it. Instead, you can trust the collective intelligence of hundreds of millions of devices that are cooperating to keep one another honest. This system cannot potentially be compromised by a single bad actor. Improved data dependability. A traditional financial system's reliance on data is in doubt since each step of the data interchange and storage process creates the potential for fraud, corruption, and degradation. For instance, when one business transfers data to another, the latter usually store it in a separate location. It also only shows up when anything needs to be transferred. In contrast, distributed networks support higher levels of data integrity and transparency. Fewer susceptibilities. Decentralization produces spread vulnerabilities, which means fewer vulnerabilities overall. As mentioned in the previous point, the trustless connection system used by the majority of cryptocurrencies makes it impossible for a single malicious party to fake a transaction and corrupt the system. Instead, more than 50% of the network's nodes would have to agree to cooperate to take control of the system. This possibility gets smaller the bigger the system grows. Potential dangers are also minimized by the distributed network model. This is because even if an attacker managed to compromise one node within the network, the system as a whole would not be in danger. The distribution of resources is improved. Distribution may enhance how resources are distributed within the system. Distributed networks can activate nodes as required to deliver the most reliable performance. However, as we'll see, internal interactions inside the distributed blockchain generate performance issues as well. Financial self-sufficiency. The allure of complete financial independence is also appealing to people. They no longer have to create an audit trail that violates their privacy, or go via a bank to finance a significant purchase thanks to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. The network's members have far greater independence in their decision-making. Competition is a possibility. Additionally, decentralization opens up more avenues for financial rivalry. To intimidate powerful players or provide customers with better services, one must rarely establish a new entity, such as a bank, in the modern financial system. However, it's the Wild West in the world of decentralized digital currency. Sway potential investors who are wary of centralized government. Investors seeking to escape the control of centralized authorities find the decentralization of cryptocurrencies intriguing. It is nearly impossible to escape centralized authorities in the current financial system. For instance, the Federal Reserve System has received a lot of criticism lately. This is because it was making debatable choices about monetary policy as a whole. Quantitative easing and interest rate adjustment. At the same time, it is hard to ignore the impact of the Federal Reserve System if you reside in the United States. With cryptocurrency, investors have a way to reject the established order. We appreciate your viewing, and we hope you enjoyed the video. How was the video? Did you enjoy it? Post your feedback in our comment section below, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates.